So we've had a couple of sessions already, and some people have asked for and received video recordings of those previous sessions to help. But we thought it's probably time. It's been a few weeks since we got everybody together and try to help people through the process. So here we are. I got Andrea here with me. She's our project lead. And we have Aiden. He's our project manager. So Andrea joins us from Deakin Uni. She's the academic lead. She oversees the big process. And Aiden brings us a lot of experience from running the WinZero run and helping customers realize their energy needs for quite a long time. So if we can help some people today, that'll be mission accomplished. Andrea, would you like to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, PK. I think the first thing I'm going to do is actually share a video that was produced for us by actually someone in the WinZero team.
Australia has one of the highest rates of rooftop solar in the world. Millions of households are soaking up the sun and saving on their bills. But what about renters? Homes with shaded roofs? Those who live in a unit, or businesses, they've been left out of the solar revolution until now. Imagine if excess rooftop solar could be made available for others to buy, automatically and fairly. It's already happening, thanks to a community-led initiative called the Virtual Energy Network, or VEN for short. It's a smart, clean, peer-to-peer energy trading system that uses the power lines already running through your street. Now, Deakin University, along with the study partners, is stepping in to study how it works, who benefits, how it scales, and how we can make it even better. Whether you've got panels and want more bang for your buck, or you rent, live in a home without solar, live in a unit, or operate a small business, like a local cafe. The VEN opens the door to energy sharing. It's especially powerful for anyone that uses energy during the day. Here's the cool part. You set the rules. Choose who you trade with. Set your price. Watch it work. It's powered by Energy Locals and Inosi Power Tracer, matching solar sellers with buyers in real time. You're eligible if you live in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, South Australia, ACT, or Tasmania. You have a smart meter, and you're willing to be an Energy Locals and Inosi Power Tracer customer. The study will run for about 6 months, and you can leave or change energy providers at any time. No lock-in contract. Ready to help build a brighter, fairer energy future? Then join the Deakin VEN study today and share the sunshine. Here's how to see if you're eligible. Go to the Deakin website. Locate the link to register your interest, answer a few questions, and submit it. You'll then receive a return email with a link to a second, more detailed set of survey questions. Fill out and submit the survey. The project team will be in touch. Simple, clean, community-powered. Join the Deakin Virtual Energy Network study and help shape Australia's clean, community-powered energy future.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Justin McFarlane. I'm one of the partners, or represent one of the partners, Rethink Sustainability, and helping bring the Deakin University Virtual Energy Network study together, along with Aiden and the WinZero team that we've been talking about. I just wanted to talk briefly about the background of the Virtual Energy Network and just help people understand that whilst we have the incredible opportunity to do this study with Deakin University and with all of you as potential participants to help determining the benefits of the VEN, it's not actually something new. We've been working on this for nearly 8 years, and it's been working in Australia for 4 years. So it's not like it's something new out of the box that we're trying to configure and figure out how it works. It is something that has been working. It is commercially available. And after having been available in the Australian market, really been supported with one retail partner for the past 3 years. For the past 12 months, we've had more retailers in Australia that we're working with, including Energy Locals in the domestic and residential space. as well as this actually now expanding internationally. So the capability of the peer-to-peer energy sharing is now working in Singapore, in the United Kingdom, and in Italy, using the platform that Deakin University will be studying here with all of us. So the capability really allows any excess energy or dispatchable stored energy that anyone might have at their home or their business to be able to put that back into the grid, and rather than get an ever eroding or less value feed-in tariff in return for providing that energy into the market, we can actually share that excess energy with other people in the market at a rate that the house or the business that's generating the energy and putting it back into the market agrees with the counterparty taking the energy back out of the market, without the retailer being in control of that and margining it and telling you what the value should be. So it's opening up some quite exciting opportunities for people to get better value for their excess energy, where they might be somebody that has solar or a battery and has the ability to export excess energy, while simultaneously being a win-win solution that we're creating value or benefit for people that would like to utilise other people's spare energy at a rate that will be a bit better than what their retail contract price would normally be. So that's a quick high-level run-through of the virtual energy network, and I think, PK, it's super helpful if you're happy to give people a quick look at the dashboard just to explain a little bit about what we can see, and that we can share our energy with multiple people. And for the study, you don't have to know other people to share your energy with or from. We're going to create a random sharing program with the hundreds of people that will be in the study, and enable everybody to experience some of the value, the shared value in utilising excess energy. Some of the things that the university are very interested in exploring with this is, how can the capability be made better, or what can we do more of, better or differently, to enable better outcomes for community participants. And some of those will relate back to how the networks work with all of us, or how we work with the networks as being customers within different parts of the network service providers ecosystem, and find ways that if we can, for example, generate more local energy and potentially store that and share that in local environments, might it be possible to avoid some of the costs in continually upgrading the networks. And ideally, if we are able to reduce some costs, perhaps those shared costs or the savings can be shared with people utilising the system. So, PK, over to you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's all right. So I'm just sharing my own power tracer, not one for anybody on the study right now. The key things to look at here on this screen, this is the page that you land on when you have access to power tracer eventually, is that it mentions your average purchase price and your average sell price. Now, this is slightly misleading because it should be read in context of, this is the portion of the tariff from a retailer, which is usually what the energy costs. There's a fixed portion, which is wires and poles, and power tracer doesn't quite show you that. That's going to cost you regardless of anything, anytime, on any retailer, unless you're on one of the really market spot price linked plans out there. Even then, it's kind of built in. So for South Australia, I believe it's 14 point something. That's the, what do you call it, the arbitrable rate. And currently, between buying a little bit of solar from others and also buying some from the retailer at other times in the mornings and the evenings, it's costing me just about 12.947 cents per kilowatt hour. So I'm saving a little bit. Now, this is my profile because I have a lot of solar on the roof. So during daytime, I don't typically end up buying a lot of solar. The only time I do is if I'm charging my car on a rainy day and my solar just can't provide all the juice needed. What is more interesting, on the other hand, for me as an exporter, as a generator, is this average sell price. This is not exactly what I charge everyone. This is a sort of a weighted average between the people who are contracted to buy energy from me. I'm usually typically selling at 8 cents at the moment. I can change that if needed. Some people buy it in the community pool. That can be slightly higher or lower than this. And then the retailer itself usually pays a bit of a tiered fit between 5 cents, 3 cents, and 15 cents. So when you put it all together over basically a 31-day period, that's what it's turned out to be. Now, considering most of our sun is during the time when the retailer wants to pay us 2, 3 cents, I think even 1.5 cents in some places. If I'm getting about 8 cents on average across a whole month, that generates quite a bit of benefit to me. That's not all benefit, but if I was not a power tracer, that traded value would be tiny in comparison. And that's where the real value for me as a generator comes in. I have an asset on the roof already. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't really mean much right now because of the load feed-ins. Now it does. On the other hand, if you're buying, you might have an energy bill that's ballooning, and suddenly you start seeing a decrease. Someone buying energy during the day might be seeing the average price drop to 8s, 9s, 10s, and that's, off what your normal tariff at any time is. It can start getting quite a bit cheaper. Justin, did you want me to show them anything else? Anything from the trading side of things? Okay. So how we do this is we propose trades. As you see, I have some trades proposed. What I will do is I'll try to propose a new trade so you can see what you're looking at. This is the peer-to-peer trading side of things, which you'll have access to once you've done your baseline. Propose a trade. He knows he gives you very helpful hints. I think I still need to learn this, so it's persistent. And I'm going to have to tell whether I want to buy energy from someone or sell it to someone. If I click sell, it'll ask me to propose a price. Now this is at the moment flat rate all day, anytime rule. If I wanted to use time of use, so tiered different rates at different times, I'll have to use that mechanism. We don't typically use it because this one suffices. Let me propose that. I select my own meter number as a trade point from which I want to be exporting to. Some people might have multiple properties on the power tracer and they might have multiple trade points to select from. And then I put in an email address, the recipient's email address. This is the exact email address the other person is logged into power tracer with. And once I have done that, I click propose, off it goes. They get an email with a big green button and they press accept and it's job done. You now have a trade rule set up. What those trade rules look like after you set them up, peer-to-peer rules, they look something like this. Are the buying rules or selling rules? You can obviously close any rules you've set up in the past at any time, especially if you're setting a new rule with the new rates, the tariffs have increased or decreased and you want to pass that on to people. But there's the peer-to-peer side. This is the side that probably takes the most effort. So start with the hard bit first. Having said that, I know we're going to try and set up trades for all our participants just to start them off because people might not necessarily know each other. What else happens is right down the bottom, you have these retailer default trades. So we actually had some people asking, can they set them to zero because they don't want to be selling energy to the retailer? Unfortunately, you can't change these. These are exactly what the retailer offers when nothing else is available. So you've contracted to sell your energy to someone, but at a particular half-hour period in time, nobody in the community or nobody in your peer-to-peer trade rules actually wants that energy. So it's going to go somewhere, and that will be to the retailer. And there's your rules here. It's actually tiered right now as our retailer has changed to tiered feed-ins. The buying rule is quite flat. Ours in SA is set to 14.16. So that's what I pay anytime, plus whatever the poles and wires are at that time of the day. The second rule, which is more interesting, is the community trade rule. Now, the community trade rule is for the when that you join to. Actually, this is the part where I'm slightly foggy, so I'm going to ask Justin to correct me in a bit. But the when community you're signed up to, this might be limited to the state you're in or just the general when you are signed up to. you want to propose rules where when you don't have a one-to-one contract with someone, you still want to be selling it because somebody in that pool might want that energy, or you might want to buy uncontracted energy from them. So you set these rules. What I do to mine is I set mine to buy at the same rate as a retailer and selling at the same rates as the retailer. The algorithm works out a best case scenario in between to give you the benefit you can get, which means on average, I get something better than the retailer would have given me for both buying and selling. And the rest of the time, it's this. In practice, if I go back to just my main dashboard itself, because I have a lot of trade rules set up, I don't end up getting too many community trades down here. When I didn't have a lot of trade rules set up, I used to have a lot of community trades here. You might see that on energy imports, I actually do end up getting larger shares as community trades because being a generator, I haven't bothered setting up as many buy rules as sell rules. But most of my energy will just go out to people I've set up peer-to-peer trade rules with. One thing also that pops up often is this question about untraded energy. Now, I have this day here in the middle, 11th of July, where the network went down. Things weren't talking to each other. It's basically a software issue somewhere with the energy market where they're not sending data to each other anymore. I'm oversimplifying it. Justin will obviously correct me, but basically PowerTracer cannot see that half-hourly power export and import and can't match them at the same time and hence can't give you credit at your contracted rates. But your retailer defaults still kick in on a day like that.
That's a great summary.
Sure. The key objective of the study is really to understand the benefits of the virtual energy network, both for people who are selling output from their existing rooftop solar panels, people who don't have rooftop solar and are interested in buying that power, but also for the network. So we're in the position in Australia where we have a lot of rooftop solar that's producing a lot of power in the middle of the day. And it's not necessarily the case that that energy is being effectively utilized. So a system like the virtual energy network can enable, through prices effectively, people to better utilize that resource. So if there's available energy among your trading partners, you, through the virtual energy network, can get access to that power at a discounted rate relative to your standard retail tariff. And if that then encourages the off-takers to change when they're consuming their energy to maximize the value of that energy that's being provided, then that's actually beneficial for the system as a whole. So I think Justin, when I came back in, Justin was talking about how does that benefit materialize? Well, it materializes by reducing pressure on the distribution network and delaying the time at which the poles and wires and all of the machines in the distribution system need to be upgraded. And that's actually potentially hugely valuable to delay the need to upgrade and augment that network. Just as for us at home, it's hugely valuable if we can delay the need to, repaint our home or upgrade our car for several years. So if we can do that throughout the distribution network, that's potentially extremely valuable. And it also means that the future for solar is brighter than it otherwise would be because we have a system that can sustain higher levels of rooftop solar into the future. So that's really a very high level picture of the purpose of the study. And yeah, as I said, we're also interested in the benefits to the participants, but adding all of those benefits together, that's what we're curious about.
Justin, anything further from the solution side you wanted to add?
No, I think just at very high level, simple terms, all that you really need to be aware of is we're helping people hyper-utilize their solar or battery assets by enabling them to create a better value arbitrage than what would normally be available through a standard retail offer or contract. So people have excess energy. A lot of people don't actually realise how much that could be. It can be utilised by sharing it with your family or friends or with the broader virtual energy network community, where you can receive better outcomes, or you get to choose how you wish to share the arbitrageable value of that energy rather than that being determined for you by a standard retail feed-in tariff arrangement. I just note there's a question about VPPs here that has been asked. For people that have batteries, you can still participate in a virtual power plant type energy sharing arrangement, but it will depend very much on what your retail contract is or what the method is in how you bought the battery. But you can dispatch a battery into the virtual power plant and receive the arbitrageable value just as though it's real excess solar in real time being exported back out into the market. So I'm not sure what the New South Wales VPP incentive scheme is. Is it just the standard battery scheme, Aidan? Or is it something different?
It's part of the federal program incentives, but not entirely sure of the detail.
Yeah, so it's just an incentive to help subsidise putting a battery in, and you're not bound up in another retail program to trade that battery with a specific group. You can do that in this particular environment if you've got the capability to dispatch the battery on demand. Any dispatched energy would just go back out into the grid, just like excess solar does, and you can monetize that based on the arbitrageable values in the market. PK explained quite well how the total energy cost works. In our residential homes and small businesses, we often have, or we almost always have, what we call a bundled rate. So our price might be 35 cents per kilowatt hour at the flat rate. That's made up of a number of components. One component is what we call the usage cost, so the amount of electricity you physically use, based on whether that's been at peak, off-peak or shoulder periods. There'll be a different cent per kilowatt hour rate for those different periods, and based on how much energy you've used in each of those periods, that will determine that portion of your bill. The other portion of the bill is all of what we call the market participation charges. So what we pay the network service providers for their poles and wires and distribution and transmission infrastructure, as well as government, environment and regulatory charges that we all pay for as electricity users in Australia. So in the VEN capability, we still pay the usage cost to use the network and to use the infrastructure, but we are able to fully arbitrage the raw energy component or the usage value component of the bill. And we can share that by determining how we wish to use the peer-to-peer trading function to share the value. In New South Wales at the moment, I'm not sure where everyone's from on the call tonight, but in New South Wales at the moment, that shareable energy value is 16.075 cents per kilowatt hour. Is that right, Aidan? 16.75. I know in Victoria, it's 12.82 cents per kilowatt hour. South Australia and Queensland are 14.525 cents. So that leaves quite an attractive number to either split 50-50 with your next door neighbour or somebody in another town or state or city, but you get to determine how much of that you wish to keep and how much of it you would make as a benefit for someone to share that energy from you, and how much you might give them. If the New South Wales rate is 16 cents, Aidan might choose to share energy with Andrea, and Aidan might keep 8 cents and allow Andrea to have an 8 cent benefit. But that sharing is entirely up to our participants, except in the study environment, we're going to set basically a midway price to share that energy so that participants are sharing the value. But during the study, anyone that would like to set up some of their own trades with other parties will be able to do that. So you're not going to be locked out from utilising the peer-to-peer energy sharing with other people you might wish to do that with once you're in the study, still free to do it. Other than for the first 4 weeks, Deakin University and Andrea's team would like to see a baseline, what business as usual is before we set any trades. So we have a 4-week period where we are being asked not to set trades, and for a handful of participants who will be selected randomly, there might be a longer baseline period that's requested just for academic and scientific purposes to make sure we can have a look at how the numbers and all of the fancy things that Andrea and her team will be doing on the modelling to see what that looks like. And there'll be a compensation program for people that are withholding from taking advantage of the peer-to-peer trades through a gift card mechanism. And Andrea, you might like to speak to that a little bit quickly.
Sure, absolutely. I was just actually responding to someone in the chat about the baseline period. So yeah, as I said, the objective from a research perspective is to understand the benefits, and having people observing the data for a period without access to the virtual energy network is actually what allows us to estimate the benefits using that data, so in a statistical sense. So we do need that baseline period, and we understand that people are excited and they want to get trading, and we're excited too, but we do really need the baseline to be maintained for us to actually be able to tell what the benefits are. So we are working through determining those baselines right now. We have visibility of many sites in PowerTracer now, and we'll be in touch. For those who have a longer baseline period, we will be offering a larger gift card. So we very much appreciate, especially the participation of those people, because the baseline will be longer. So we do understand that it's frustrating, but we really ask you for the sake of science to maintain that baseline until we let you know that it's over. Once it is over, we'll actually allocate you to a trading group, and we will set up some trades for you so that everyone in that trading group is benefiting, and to make sure that you're getting some of the benefit and joy of sharing solar within the community.
And just to answer some questions that are coming through, I can see Kath has asked, can I share with someone 300 kilometres away? Yes, you can. I have a solar system in Melbourne, and I'm sharing energy to some friends in Brisbane, with people in Adelaide, and people throughout regional Victoria and New South Wales. So we're absolutely not limited geographically on where we can link people up. So long as the retailer is offering a retail contract in that environment, we are able to share energy between any participants within the virtual energy network. I hope that answers that one, Kath.
And I think, Kathy, you're also asking about promoting the study to members of your community. We absolutely want you to do that. We would love to have more participants, particularly people that you want to share with. And in fact, Energy Locals offers an additional incentive if you recommend people to join Energy Locals in general. So if you wanted further information on how to take advantage of that sign-up bonus, you could email ven@deakin.edu.au. I just messed that up. The Venn email address where you would have received the invitation to this session, and we can provide you with some more details on that. But absolutely, please shout from the rooftops, along with, produce energy from those rooftops and get people to join. That would be fantastic.
Tim, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I got a question about the baseline measuring. So I'm in Canberra. I haven't quite got it all set up yet, but power consumption in winter is probably 5 times that what it is in summer. So are you compensating for places where there's going to be a very different power consumption rate between cold months of the year and the hot months of the year?
This sounds like a research design question, which is my expertise. So, Tim, absolutely. Part of the reason why we need longer baselines from some people in the study is to account for those effects of seasonality. And part of the reason why we're going to randomly determine who has a longer baseline is to ensure that we sort of in a statistical sense, have two Tim Butlers that we're observing, one who's trading in the Venn and one who's got a longer baseline period. So it's quite similar in idea to a sort of a pharmaceutical drug trial where we have a treatment and a control group, and it's random who gets the treatment, because absolutely those seasonal factors are really important for us to control for. And also really interesting to see if the benefits of the Venn, for example, change a lot across the seasons and also across different regions of Australia.
Thanks.
And congratulations, Tim, for your commitment to the study. I know that you've had to wait a fair amount of time for the repricing process to complete in ACT. So, well,
Yeah, I haven't finished the process yet. I haven't been able to get the right plan yet.
but you're well on the way. Okay.
I just had a couple of thoughts with a few questions that came together. One was a question about 300 kilometers. I do have to caution people. There are sections of the East Coast where this does not work. One example is the Ergon Energy Regional Network in Queensland.
Okay,
That is not.
okay. It's much simpler. If you can get an energy locals contract, this will work. There are some parts of the northern Queensland and far western Queensland that are not contestable markets where multiple retailers can provide their service. So anywhere that you can change your retail arrangement to an energy locals plan, you will be able to participate in the Venn. That's, we don't need to, I think, get into too much detail about why some of the networks are different. Probably a bit too
Yeah, no, Justin, the reason I mentioned was we did have one person who wanted to trade between the sites. One of their sites was in metropolitan Brisbane, and one happened to be in a regional town not very far from Brisbane, but unfortunately on the Ergon regional network. There's practical limitations. The other side, Tim asked that question. Tim, one of the things we found out last year was between the Venture Shire on the Hume Highway in New South Wales and us from SA joining, we often had a lot more sun than they did, especially when the weather was bad there. We were still sunny and we could be sending sunshine virtually and vice versa. So as the wind grows in size, it does have that benefit of kind of helping each other out.
Justin, there's another question here about batteries. I have a Powerwall 10 kilowatts. Can I limit the drain in evening to only say 30 or 40%? Are you able to answer that?
The answer is technically yes, you should be able to. The virtual energy network doesn't do that for you. So whatever your battery control system is that you've been provided from your installer or battery provider, you can usually utilize those control capabilities to have the battery do what you would like it to do. And that should include setting limits around how the battery is utilised or optimised. But that's not something we do through the Venn, because there's so many different types of batteries and so many different types of control systems. But generally, yes, you should be able to do that.
And I should say we have a lot of participants who have batteries who've just joined the study, which is really exciting.
We have participants that are exporting from their batteries when the sun's gone down to either utilise that stored energy at another property they might own or operate. So we definitely can provide that battery sharing capability so long as the battery owner has configured their appropriate control system to have the battery act how they would like it to.
So we're making an assumption that everyone on the call this evening is at a minimum expressed an interest. By expressing interest, you've answered a few key questions, and then you should have received a follow-up email from Deakin with a couple more steps in there. Obviously, the first step of that is what we're going to go through next, which is a pricing process for Energy Locals, the retailer that's been selected for the study, that has the capability for energy sharing through the ENOSI partnership. If I take you now to the Energy Locals website, this should be the link that you see in your second email from Deakin in response to your expression of interest. This is the registration component. So Let's type in an address. I've got a couple of addresses here. We're going to pick Lawn, which is, I believe, just north of Taree. Do we have any regional representation on the call this evening? The first step in your price comparison here is to check that you're on the right site. So your national metering identification number, I think it's 10 or 11 digits in total, but it'll display the first two and the last three. So if you go to your existing retailer's bill or you log into your system, you should be able to find those last three digits and make sure that it's actually the same and it matches, because that will confirm to you you're on the right site. Scrolling down the page, there's a rate summary under the electricity rates, including GST. If you click on the plus button here, it should show you a summary of the rates. You can see that this is a single rate for this site. There's a supply charge, and it gives you some detail on the feed-in rates. There's also a PDF further down. I'm assuming everyone can see this screen okay? Yep. You click on the PDF, and that, in this case, this site is supplied both electricity and gas. We want electricity, obviously. Assuming that PDF comes up okay. Looking for a thumbs up. Yep. This just gives you a little bit more detail. So in this particular PDF, you'll see exactly what you saw before in the summary form, but it'll give you more detail about some estimated costs, the feed-in, obviously. There's also green power options, the membership fees, and potentially other fees and charges, one-off charges that may be relevant to the site. And Andrea mentioned the refer a friend credit, which is a $50 incentive to refer to your friends or people that you know. And then there's more detail about the contract as you scroll down. So we just wanted to go through that end to end, because that's the second step in the process if you decide to progress beyond the expression of interest into the registration component.
And Aidan, just to mention also that the 34.5 cents we're looking at there is the total bundled rate per kilowatt hour. So that includes the supply and distribution cost, as well as the 16 cents per kilowatt hour that is the arbitrageable usage cost component. So it's made up of both of those pieces.
Yeah, that's a good point, Justin. So what PK was showing us earlier was a component of that. In this case, this example, the component that PK showed us from memory was around about 14 or 15 cents. Mm-hmm. That is the tradable component of the overall 34.5, which is the rate that's paid if you're pulling energy from the grid.
This is the New South Wales site, though, so that'll be 16.075 cent point.
Yeah, changes state by state. Yeah. So effectively, once you've gone through the pricing process, everything is agreeable. You then click on choose this plan, move to the next step. I'm not going to go too much further because it's going to start asking me for site details. They want to sign someone else's site up unseen. So yeah, you just walk through the next steps and you start providing details about your personal details or your business details, as you would do if you're moving plans through any retailer process. Then the second step, or actually the third step, is to complete a detailed survey, a detailed survey. And that's got, Andrea, what about sort of 15, 18 questions?
Yeah, we're just asking people, for example, what are major appliances you have in the home and a few demographic characteristics. That's just to help us understand what the distribution of benefits is across different types of households, who we have in the sample compared to the average Australian, and also, you know, if there are particular types of appliances or households or businesses that have particular types of appliances benefit more, for example.
So if you've expressed an interest, if you haven't received a follow-up email from Deakin, we can resend that to you. Please just provide your details back to us or let us know on that central mailbox that Andrea's referenced. And then those two steps will be revealed to you, and just follow those links. First of which we've just been through in the segment is what Andrea's just explained to you. And at that point, you then...
note there, Aidan, just about the sign-up process, exactly where you got up to. One of the pitfalls we found with people who've tried to join the study but have got stuck is the use of email addresses. They've used multiple email addresses, a different one to join Energy Locals and a different one to register with our study. And they do sometimes end up getting lost. Sometimes people have made simple typos in entering their email addresses in places, and that's caused us to not see it. We are actually currently trying to gather all that, find all these problems, and then recontact people. Some people have even received phone calls because we've just tried to help out where we can. Yeah, a little bit of carefulness with using the same email addresses does help.
Final thing from me, if you do have multiple sites, and we've covered that in other parts of the conversation this evening, in that detailed survey, you can identify those additional sites and put the details in there. So for example, if you have one solar site and multiple sites that you'd like to share that solar with that don't have solar, that's very much an option. And we have some examples of people that are participating in the study that are doing that already. They may have 4 or 5 sites in a suite or portfolio of their business, for example. That's very achievable as well, and that can be captured in the detailed survey. Back to you, Andrew and PK.
Thanks, Hayden. I think if I had to give a message here, it's about the study is trying to gauge how a system like this will help people generally at a larger scale. We're not quite at that stage where we're saying this will definitely save people money. I mean, we make our best effort and try to find something where, we are trialing something which has a reasonable prospect, but we don't make any of those claims. So we do ask for people's patience a little bit, especially with things like the baseline period and us setting up trades and all that. In a general sense, our own experience with being on a WEN has been positive up to date. So we hope that translates to your own experience once you're up and running. Andrea, we got anything more to add?
So I can just see James has asked how many do we have so far. So we've had more than 200 people try and join the study. Right now we have, I think, around about 150, possibly slightly less than 150 that are live in PowerTracer right now. And we've received more than 1,000 expressions of interest.
We've been very busy working at some clever Excel spreadsheets to try and match people who got stuck in the process somewhere and help them out. So that's part of what's happening in the background to try and get people across the line. We know people are very interested, and we are trying to figure it out for them. People staying on the trail. I believe they are. Angel, one of the challenges has been that we incidentally started this right at the time the networks were changing their tariffs. And that tariff change has thrown a lot of people off course. Multiple things happen. People forget that they expressed an interest for the study. They try to actually join the Energy Locals plan, but Energy Locals block them off, saying we would not onboard you until our plan changes have taken effect. When you put those effects together and people's lives, people are not always at home or in a place to do these things at a particular time of the year. People have gotten lost, but people have been emailing us and telling us, please wait for me until such and such date. And we try our best to follow up with them.
With respect to a couple of the other questions, talking about how long does the study be, how long is the study going to be? So Andrea, we're looking at up to around 6 months of the study period for data collecting, and that's a rolling 6 months. So I think there's a question also about, are we waiting for everybody to be on board before we start the baseline? The answer is no. As soon as someone joins up, their specific baseline period for the 4 weeks start. After that 4-week period, or close to after that 4-week period, we will start setting some trades up so that there will be active trading. And participants at that point are also more than welcome to set their own trades up with other counterparties if they would like to, or if they're interested in introducing some other people to come and play. I think the one question I'm not sure we've answered satisfactorily that I've been watching was, again, about the VPP and the New South Wales VPP questions. I'm not really sure, Aidan, who we would direct that to.
Yeah, we might have to. We'll take that offline. If you can send a question into the mailbox, we'll do our best to answer that.
Your instructions say to sign up to a PowerTracer plan, but now that I can actually sign up, I don't get the option of a PowerTracer plan.
Yeah,
Is that
you need to go through the link that we've forwarded, and that automatically takes you through to it. It's not one you'll find in their ordinary website or on their normal sequence of plans. If you join their local member or business member plan, you will actually be in an environment where the Power Tracer capability will work. But we do forward a link that does specifically take you through to the virtual energy network and OT Power Tracer capability.
Now, let's say you do get yourself on the wrong plan, Tim, or someone else does. There is a way around that. Let me just quickly. Oh,
because I think I did follow the link, and yeah, I couldn't see a Power Tracer plan.
That link should be taking you to the right plan. It might be called an OC plan, but there should only be one option, and you should just be able to sign up to it from that link.
That last bit, what Andrea said, is actually the key. If you have ended up on the wrong page, Energy Locals will typically offer you 3 to 4 different types of plans to choose from. If you go to the correct place, you will have only one type of plan offered to you on a plan choice page, which sounds really silly that you have one plan on plan choice page, but that also means you've got to the correct place.
I have a slightly technical question. So, in the process of looking to build a house on the property that the Energy Tracer thing is going to work, one of the things I'm looking at is a solar and wind setup, and also a 3-phase power connection. Is there advantages, disadvantages of having a 3-phase power connection when you're, doing energy trading and that sort of thing, and solar feed in and all that sort of business?
Not for what we're doing, Tim. There's no significant advantage in this particular construct of the energy sharing, unless there might be some larger volumes that could be pushed back out through a 3-phase connection back into the grid. And that will be on a case-by-case or site-by-site basis generally. But you do raise a really interesting point that, again, I think it was Talia was asking, if someone is going to add solar or a battery and they've started the study without having any generation or storage capacity, that's actually really exciting for us for the study, because we will get to see how things change for people and be able to record and report on that type of experience with some really good detail, and again, how the virtual energy network overlays into that change as well. So it is really important to note that you don't have to have solar or a battery to be involved in the study or to be in the VEN. I live in an apartment in Melbourne and I don't own the roof, so I don't have solar or a battery on my own building, but I do get in summer more than 70% of the energy that I use at my apartment through the VEN, and in winter around 50% of the energy at my home is through the VEN. So although I don't have access to solar myself, I'm getting clean green energy to my house from other people that are producing it, and I'm saving money compared to what I would be paying normally through my normal retail supply agreement. But it's exciting for us to see people who will be adding solar or batteries during the study period. It's a really, really good thing for us to have. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I live in an interesting spot where it's quite windy, so I'm actually looking to do solar, wind, and battery. I've seen a few companies now providing solar and wind installations for off-grid sort of facilities, so that would be quite interesting. We'd be able to generate quite a bit of electricity at night, I suspect.
Yeah, we have quite a few customers with wind turbines, water turbines, waste to energy. We've got pig farmers turning methane off their waste ponds into electricity. So the electricity generation, we're completely agnostic as to how energy is being generated, and in fact, any dispatchable stored energy capability clearly includes batteries, but it could include other emergency standby diesel systems and things that can be activated. Any of those things can participate in this capability, and we can have a look at how they will work. Solar and batteries are obviously the most common, so they're what we probably spend a little bit more time talking about. But having someone with wind would be awesome in the study, and having some people with wind would be terrific, or water turbines, that'd be fantastic.
I like to sometimes disagree with Justin on things, but today, only thing I'm going to do is reinforce that if you do have a 3-phase connection for any particular reason, like I did, it means I have almost no clipping to my power exports at all throughout the year, even in the middle of summer. It is brilliant. Then when you join something like the WEN, where people are actively buying your power off you, when the retailer would have given you nothing, you end up with quite a substantial credit. Now, this depends on the individual circumstance, but for most of the year, I don't make money off it, but my account zeroes out. Most people these days don't talk about their feed-in tariffs zeroing out their accounts, and I don't have a battery. So if you do indeed put in all that infrastructure for any reason, mine was I want to charge my car really fast. And getting on the WEN means all that money that I put into the big solar panel system on my roof and three-phase connection, it's just worth it.
Three-phase connection doesn't guarantee export limits by
No.
any means. It usually does open up a little bit of capacity to get away with a bit more than you might, but it depends on the local transformer and all sorts of things that come into how the network service provider wants to treat you, regardless of whether you have single, dual or three-phase.
Just very quickly before we finish, there is a way to switch plans if you think you may be on the wrong plan or not be on the Energy Locals NOSI plans, and it's by following this link, and we'll pop that in the chat. And there really is only a couple of details that they require, and there's only two options you can choose from, whether you're a domestic or a business. And you can see that the plans you need to be on is either local member or business member. So Energy Locals have anticipated this and provided a way for you to move plans so you're on the right one, and it's a pretty efficient process that they do through the back end.
Aidan, can you just show the actual link? If someone uses our link, it does actually state Power Tracer on it. If they've gone to the right page, they should actually see that when they go into the link that's been provided.
So the link for this page is here, and the correct link to select the right
Just
plan
click on that. So it says Energy Locals Power Tracer. That's what we want people to see when they come in, and it's important to click the Get Started button, not the Sign Up button. Unfortunately, the Sign Up button takes you off to a normal Energy Locals bunch of plans again to join. We click the Get Started button when we're in this Energy Locals Power Tracer page, and you'll get through to the right outcome.
And I think, Andrew, most of the registration emails now go straight to this page, don't they? I think the email link has been updated, is that right?
I thought it was the other page in with the code in it. So
there are two pages. There are two pages. It's either this page or the one that PK put in the chat. And I think
the one that PK's put in the chat is just after you click Get Started here anyway, isn't it? But I don't think you see Power Tracer anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So either or gets you to the same place.
I'll post it in the chat just now. That link does get you to the correct place, but it has a disadvantage that you don't see the first landing page where it says Power Tracer.
It's a cheat.
Yes, it is.
Shortcut. So I hope we've not confused people there. You can follow either of those links. They end up in exactly the same place if you click Get Started on that first Power Tracer page. Kath, did you have a question?
Yes, we have a small, renewable energy group in where I live, far south coast of New South Wales, and we are having a kind of expo in about 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and I wanted to put together some information that was kind of idiot proof. So to explain to people that they can do this and help science, always good. And I know that there will be people there who want to do it because they can't do anything else really. They're renting a house, they live in shaded area, whatever. And so they'll think, okay, well, I can help science. And so I kind of want this situation with the 75 URLs to be very easy for them. So I can put something together, which I received a bit of information from somebody called Lisa today, with a bit of a pamphlet, a flyer, I guess. And so I'm probably going to distill that. I'm going to speak for 5 minutes and then hand something out and say, I will help you do this. But from my point, I was already an Energy Local member. And so for me, it was easy. But from what I'm hearing on this and some of the recordings that I've heard, it is not easy to be in the right place. And sometimes Energy Locals don't know how. the person who answers the phone at Energy Locals doesn't know how to help either. So I guess
I think it will be much easier if you provide in the information you're handing out the link that PK's presented that does actually take you through to the get started sign up page. Now, it doesn't have Power Tracer on it once you get to that, but once you're at that link, it will remove 99% of the frustration and confusion. So that will be, I think, one piece of advice that hopefully will help a little bit. And we certainly do appreciate that it's a bit tricky. It's something very new in the market. The retailers aren't really quite sure how they talk about it or present it or market it because it's so new. We've got some of these little hurdles and headaches that certainly not ideal, but absolutely overcomable.
And Kath, if anybody's interested to sign up for the study, they should also submit an EOI via the website, because then they're in our system and we will be able to send them instructions and follow up with them via one of many of our spreadsheets. But certainly if you're there to assist them go through those steps that, we inform them of, that's fantastic. I think that would be really valuable.
Okay, thanks.
I've just tried that link and the only option I get is local member plan.
That's exactly right, Tim. That's all it would say. It will have a blue banner and it will say local member. But as long as you use that link, you'll end up on the correct thing.
So keep going, right? Okay.
What happens from there is, because you got on the correct plan code, Energy Local will sign you up and then they will push some of your data across to NOC. It takes 3 to 4 days. They confirm your site meets all the needs, that you have a smart meter, etc. And then they'll create you a Power Tracer account and send you login details. So once you sign up from the correct link, it becomes quite seamless. The other thing that Kath, you raised some very good points. It is complicated. We also acknowledge this is kind of the start of a thing, which is partly why this is a study to see what it does. We have been cheering him on to launch a new retailer that makes it all seamless and really nice and easy to do. I think that message has been heard clearly many, many times. So we take that on board, definitely.
And certainly people can always get in touch with the inbox and we'll also guide people through.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's been great to meet some of you and see some of you again who we talk a bit more regularly. But really appreciate your interest in what Deakin University and the partners are all trying to do here in helping do something a little bit disruptive and creative in the energy market. And hopefully that will lead to substantial benefits for energy consumers down the track off the back of the work that Andrea and her team will be undertaking.
Thank you.
Good on you all. It's great to be involved. Thanks.
Thanks, Kath. Appreciate it. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks a lot.